Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing. Well, kind of. I got this box yesterday. I know it comes from Xiaomi and it doesn't look like a phone box, right? It's pretty thin. There's really not much here. I covered up the addresses and stuff, but let's dig in and see what we got here. Dun, 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 dun. Well, looks like we have a phone in here. So let's take a look, shall we? What is this? It is a Redmi phone that explains Xiaomi. Let me remove the sticker here. And the front cover thing. And let's dig into this a little. This, folks, is the Redmi 9T with 4 cameras, as you can see in the back. And if you look carefully, look at the bottom here and at the top, this should look familiar if you're paying attention. Let me turn it on and I'll explain in a second. First of all, I cheated. I've set this up already because Xiaomi didn't send me any specs. I didn't know what this phone was about other than they said it has a 6.53-inch 1080p IPS display, a 48 megapixel camera, and a Snapdragon 662. Again, those numbers should sound really familiar. And that's because this phone here is essentially the same phone. This is the Poco M3, and it is, for all practical purposes, almost the same phone. So that's very Xiaomi, Redmi phone that's almost identical to a Poco phone. But let me explain in a little more detail. Look at the back, all right? Now, the Poco has this really cool camera bump, but really it's just cosmetic. The bump itself is right here, and that bump itself is right here. And it's a little longer on the Redmi because of that extra lens right in the middle of the screen right now. And guess why that is? It's because the Poco M3 doesn't have an ultra wide, but this Redmi 9T has an ultra wide. That's the only thing that I felt was missing from the Poco M3. And guess what? Everything else is exactly the same. The same amount of RAM, 4 gigabytes, the same amount of storage, 128 gigabytes, the same processor, Snapdragon 662, the same display with the same teardrop, as you can see here. It might be more obvious if I fire up an app like Facebook. You see the notch right there? Yeah. So same thing here. And yeah, ultimately, the only thing they really added was the ultra wide. It does have the same 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and in fact, even the shell is the same. Look at it. SIM trays in the same place. The Poco's on top, okay? The Realme on the bottom. Speaker and the USB-C and microphone are in the same spot. On the right-hand side, the power lock key, which is also the fingerprint scanner, and the volume rocker on the same spot. And on top, the headphone jack, secondary mic, and the infrared transmitter is also in the same spot. So yeah, they've added an ultra wide, and that's actually welcome because that was one of the things I missed the most on this phone, on the Poco M3. So yeah, that's basically what the Redmi 9T is all about. And yeah, there's some cosmetic differences. You see this weird circular polished thing here, and the Redmi embossed in there. So this is plastic, just like the Poco. The Poco is like this fake leather finish, but this is like a unibody plastic that wraps all the way around. There's no glass here inset. This is just one piece all the way around. It's really, really well done. Of course, the camera pod is slightly different because you have that extra camera. So let's talk about these cameras. You've got an 8 megapixel f/2.0 in the front, same as Poco M3. And the back, you got basically these 4 lenses. 2 of them are what I call sticker cameras. They're useless. They're 2 megapixel. One is a macro and one is a depth sensor. But then you have the main 48 megapixel sensor f/1.8, and you have, in this case, an 8 megapixel ultra wide f/2.2. So Again, I expect this phone to cost no more than, probably $150, just like the Poco M3, right? So I think it's interesting. We'll see how it pans out. But basically, I don't know the pricing. I don't know anything else. But I did fire it up and test the cameras and, checked out what the device info was to see whether there are any other differences. And right now, I really can't spot anything. Same IPS panel, same battery, 6,000 milliamp hour, which is really impressive. Same front camera, same rear cameras other than the extra ultra wide on the Redmi. Same design basically, other than a few differences in the way this plastic is shaped. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's not unusual for Xiaomi to duplicate phones like this, but in this case, it's just like one thing, the ultra wide. Amazing. Still no NFC, so just keep that in mind if you're looking for a cheap phone. The Poco M3 did not have NFC either, and so in the US, it's kind of hard to recommend, especially with COVID right now, because that's really what you want to do. You want to be able to do contactless payments, right? So keep that in mind, but that's it, folks. This is the Redmi 9T. It's a very affordable, I expect, phone with decent specs for the money at least. And the cameras didn't suck on the Poco, so I expect them to be half decent on here. Plus you get an ultra wide. That's it, folks. Stay tuned for more content soon. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the little notification bell below. Please comment below, let me know, would you rock this phone either as your main phone because you're on a budget, or even as a backup phone or for your kids or something? Let me know. It does have all the Google services stuff, so you can just use it as you wish. It has 4G that works in the US, so there you go. All right, folks, remember this channel is a complement to my podcast at Mobile Tech Podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, pretty much everywhere good podcasts can be found. Please subscribe to the podcast and tell your friends, and stay tuned. Cheers, everybody.